And I'm joined by Kit Trigg. How you doing, Kit, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, yeah, all good, man. I'm happy to happy to have you on the show, buddy. It's started hearing your music when Josie started sending it across last year. Really been enjoying it. I was just waiting you released your EP Going For Glory last year. And it seems like this last year you really have been going for glory, man. It seems like everything, all those wheels are starting to turn.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's been definitely like a kind of kamikaze kind of energy to it, particularly since, well, I'd say probably like the back end of 2022 and then all of 2023. Um, there was just kind of like an energy within the band that we were just like a dog without, we're like a dog, like, holding a bone. Like we just didn't let it go. And we just kind of we just kept sending it. Um, kind of relentlessly, and we found ourselves playing in Europe for the first time, and
Nice.
um, doing two Irish tours, which was pretty crazy. And again, none of it was planned. It was, for example, we just booked one show in Belfast at the beginning of last year, and then that show was terrible. Like there was like 8 people there or something. But one of the people that was there was a like a touring agent. So it's like, oh, why don't you come back and we'll do like 3 shows here. So that's what happened. We came back and did 3 shows in October. Yeah, and yeah, that's kind of how last year was. It was like a combination of really good effort and amazing luck, like perfect luck. So this year feels a little bit more serious and a bit more like professional, for better words. But it's, yeah, I'm still kind of in shock really from last year, and all the things that we did, like working with Pete Hutchings, who, yeah, I briefly mentioned, made Foal's last album, made the last Royal Blood record. Um, and so he did Going For Glory, and then we're going to start the album with him in April. So yeah, it's wild.
So are you looking for like a next year release on the album, I take it, probably by now, by the time you're recording it, or
I think so. Just like everything takes so much more time, as we're still kind of kind of independent in terms of a label. We've got distribution from Earache, obviously, and just general kind of morale boosting by them, which is lovely. So obviously, when you're independent, it's it's less certain, I suppose, when your music's going to come out. It just relies on so many factors and so many variables. So I think we're hoping for, yeah, like an album release next year, but this year it's all about making it really. Um, and the one thing we're not sure of, which is just such an exciting position to be in, is songs. I think just because of all the experiences we had last year,
nice.
um, one of them, I don't know if Josie would like me to tell you, but like getting into trouble with the police in Ireland and like all of these like really like rock and roll kind of things. But what's so funny is that like they were all like it was the particularly that one in particular was the biggest "it's really not what it looks like" kind of thing. So yeah, but yeah, so that, all of that aside, all of those experiences we had last year, and spending so much time together with, just 3 guys in a van,
Yeah,
you learn so much about like the human condition when you're in such close proximity with people,
amazing.
in really testing kind of waters. And yeah, we're really struggling to narrow down what songs to put towards the album. So that's a really nice position to be in, really. So just loads of inspiration and information, and um, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Really, we're just going to be making it this album this year, making the album this year, and then we can look to when and how we can release it.
Oh, nice one. Obviously, you mentioned the other guys there. I mean, obviously, like the whole project's under your name, but how did the rest of the guys come into the fold, dude?
Wow, it's a really cool story, actually. So I started kind of playing live when I was about 14, because I had a very bohemian kind of upbringing. I think my attendance in school was about 30%, like on reflection, which is awful. I really was just, my mum used to call into school and be like, "Oh, he's really ill," and what I'd actually be doing is practicing. And so that was kind of, so I started really young on my own, and I was moving around a lot, because of this kind of lifestyle, and it was very hard for me to get a band, so I decided just to start something on my own. And then I met Nick, my drummer, um, through like mutual kind of people and things, and we still couldn't think of a band name, and he was like, well, why don't we just use your name, Trigger, because it sounds like Fleetwood Mac or Kit Trigg. It sounds kind of, doesn't sound like a name. And we were like, yeah, let's do that. So that was kind of like why we kind of chose that in the end. And then how we met Guy, our bass player, is we were looking for a bass player for, I'm not joking, years.
Wow.
And I think what it was is because Nick and I have this really intuitive relationship and connection, which I think is integral for a drummer and any member of the band, really, because it's kind of like the heartbeat of the band. So we found it hard to find a bass player who kind of matched that kind of synergy, and so we tried out like 8 bass players, and then on the ninth one we tried was Guy, and
Ah,
he was 17 at the time. He was really young,
oh,
but he just had so much feel, just a crazy amount of feel. And he'd only been playing for, I think, like a year or something. And yeah, he is. I don't think many people would dispute this. He's probably the most talented member in the band. He's just fantastic, and he's also, become one of my best friends. And yeah, just it's something that kind of always makes me feel much better about anything, because it can sometimes, being in a band and doing it professionally can be quite testing. But one thing that always reassures me is like how lucky I am to be in a band with 2 people that, like, I genuinely love them. They're
that's cool.
legend, man, solid dudes. And
Wow.
and to know them, inside and out, pretty much, from sharing a double bed with them for like nights on end on a tour, or like or like the floor or whatever. You really get to know somebody, and they are 2 of the greatest dudes I've ever met. So that's, so yeah, we met through just kind of, you know just like, naturally, and just kind of one of those things. Only when you look back you can connect the dots and see how you met, and
Yeah.
act and everything. And yeah, it's a really tight unit.
That's really good to hear, man. You definitely need that when you're out on the road, pal. Absolutely. So it's nice to hear that you
Yeah.
got that between each other. I mean, you were saying that about your sort of like, as you put it, your more bohemian way of growing up and your mum being
Yeah,
quite cool with that. So who was the people who made you want to pick up playing guitar? Was it your parents? Were they playing? Was it just hearing
really good
stuff around?
question. I think because it was so early when I started playing, I don't really remember, to be honest, but I think it was to do with the fact that, like, my my mum had just loads of friends in music, and she's a really creative person, and just kind of like, it was to do with, like, just the best way I can describe it was just the crowd.
Yeah.
Like, the crowd that was around my family were all players, and or artists, or slightly more alternative people. So I suppose it wasn't really put on me at all. It was more that, like, the space was just made,
Yeah.
and then I kind of gravitated towards anything with strings on, really. So if there was a bass or a banjo or a ukulele, just that playing music in that way came the most naturally. And then throughout my childhood, I picked up loads of other instruments, like drums mainly, and then piano, and then a bit of harmonica, and just kind of anything. And then luckily, by the time I got to about 16, I got relatively good at most of these things, and managed to get into this wicked college called King Alfred's, in North London. And it's a really, really creative school. And for the audition for that, they just, because I couldn't read music
Yeah.
and had really poor theory, I had to play, I think I had to play like one Queen song, and I played all the parts to it, like, separately, and yeah, and got in. So that was great. That college was awesome because it gave me a lot of. They really encouraged my music, and I was really involved in a lot of, like, the productions, like backing other people up on several instruments and things. And that's when, yeah, I met Nick as well, my drummer. And then when I left school, we started really thinking about how we could kind of proceed as like a band instead of just like friends who would meet up and play like
Oh, okay.
now and then. So so yeah, I can't really, it wasn't a particular person, but I'd say if there was somebody who just made the space for me, it's probably my mum. She just yeah, yeah, just kind of really, I think number one, she obviously just, like most parents, wanted me to be happy, but secondly, I think she realized that this is the only way he's going to earn a living. So we better encourage him. Yeah, that was kind of it, really.
That's cool, man. It's nice that you had that. Stereotypically, I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I play bass, and I was fortunate that, my parents, particularly my dad, he was into his rock and stuff. So he was,
Oh,
his
amazing.
my granddad was in jazz bands and things. So we was always sort of kind of growing up. So, my mum came from a different side of thing, but always liked music. So music was sort of always on in the house. But I know there would be definitely situations where I went around like my mate's house. That's sort of like, my mate Max, for example. We both started playing. He picked up guitar at 13. I picked up bass, sort of similar sort of time. And I'd go around his, and his parents would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, and yeah,
Oh,
you're
really?
13,
Wow.
like you're 13, and you're making noise. You're still learning what the hell this
Yeah, yeah.
this does, and you're just making noise. Whereas my parents were just like, I think the only thing my mum did was like buy me a set of headphones for my amp, so that she,
Oh, bless her. That's like the most subtle kind of like
yeah,
down of her.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so
Just
lovely.
plug these in when you're in, son. We don't want
Yeah,
to hear that.
it's amazing that, because like it's coincidental that we're like talking about like the origin of like playing, because was it day before yesterday I discovered some like home movies of like when I started playing, and there was one memory I had where like I think I would have been about 7, um, and I was playing outside. And I remember back in that time, I thought I was really, really good. And then I saw this video and I was like, I was in time, but it's that thing that like kids do when they get one thing good, they just do it over and over
Yeah,
again. So the video's like 5 minutes, I'm doing the exact same thing. Um, so it's, but yeah, it's about, if the passion's there, that's kind of, I had a great quote yesterday and it kind of relates to this, which is all you need is the start and then the rest will take care of itself.
true.
It's like, wow, that's so true. You just need like a good start, and I suppose everything else is kind of out of your hands, really.
Absolutely,
Uh,
man. Well, it's all led to where you are now, man. You've just, like I say, you've been working on the EP at the moment. Last couple of weeks ago, now you released your latest single, "Light at the End of the Tunnel." Where
mhm.
did that song come from in terms of the writing
That's a
sonically?
great question. Um, yeah, it's, I guess the best way to put it is like, I had a breakup actually, and it really, really, it was the bad one. There's like one bad one in your life. That
Yeah.
was the bad one, and I totally kind of like felt really like disillusioned. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, nothing's meant to be, and all of these kind of quite dour thoughts. And that song came about because ultimately uh, I started looking for positives in just a little bit more kind of like everyday kind of ways, and that kind of general kind of optimism that most people have, and that had a bit more substance to me, and I'm not trying to trash talk trash talk my ex-girlfriend at all, but what something that did dawn on me is that she would always say these like really corny kind of like optimistic lines,
Oh yeah.
like the universe has a plan, and all of these things. And I remember thinking, it's such bollocks, man. Like, it's, sorry for swearing, but like, it's, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't practically help me. And then it made me realize there's a huge issue with like positivity today, that it's all bumper stickers basically, and it's all phrases to sell on t-shirts, and that line in Light at the End of the Tunnel about the hippie movement, which is after the 60s, it was all up for sale. That was like the best way I could describe it, because don't get me wrong, I genuinely believe in love, and I genuinely believe in peace, um, but I became so angry that it's been like westernized, and people are making money from these really cheap phrases that don't offer any substance. And um and so the main kind of story of Light at the End of the Tunnel is that we need to look at more um honest ways of being optimistic, and being genuine about that as well, and not kind of, you know, throwing these like lines out that, you know, don't mean anything, and it's just to sell stuff at the end of the day. And you know, that all these means of like happiness are really only attainable if you've got money. So like going to yoga is expensive, going to meditation classes is really expensive. And what's so sad is that in the East, that's not the case. A lot of these things are, you know, available and, you know, introduced into schools, and you know, it's so that kind of, so it came from like a rage ultimately,
Yeah.
that, you know, a rage that, like, you know, there's so much dishonesty around the new age spiritual movement, and it just kind of gets in the way of like the origin, which is like, you know, so beautiful. So yeah, that was kind of the song. And yeah, it's amazing how well that song has held up.
That's what I mean. I get where you're going from there. Like I came from a young age as well as music. I did a lot of martial arts, and that came from like a lot of traditional side of ways as well. And you know, from quite a young age, I was meditating and that kind of thing as alongside my martial arts training. So yeah, I've always sort of been into that side of it through martial arts training and everything else. But like when you say, you know, yoga classes pumped up everywhere for like 50 quid an hour, or you know, go
Oh
on this
God.
meditation retreat, and you're like, you can just do this in your own space. You can totally just,
Yeah,
if you want to take your time out and meditate, all you need is a space. You don't
that's
need
it.
you
Yeah,
don't need to go to a spa somewhere and do it. You can do it
absolutely.
where you
And the other kind of obvious thing that happens under this guise of like the peace and love movement is that it leads to a lot of really unhealthy power dynamics between men and women. Like there's countless stories of these yogis who, you know, abuse their power for people who are kind of like lost souls. They'll go to these retreats, they'll, you know, get a credit card so they can fly to India, and or, you know, go to Norfolk for these ayahuasca retreats so that they can be, you know, seduced and manipulated by these, you know, yogis and things. And so there was a lot of rage about that as well. Um, and I'm glad I've got it out my system so I can seem less bitter now. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm all for a better world, obviously. I don't think we need to. I don't think lying about it is going to do anything. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. So when you were recording the EP, like I say, it's made real big impact this last year, man. Like, did you
yeah.
feel like you really had something special on your hands? Was there a moment in it where you thought this could be the thing that takes us to the next level?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. There was one moment. I think actually about a year and a half ago, possibly. Uh, maybe the back end of 2022. It was when we'd just started working and having like a bit of influence from earache, and I'd written these songs. I hadn't released them, and we played and we went off on this tour. I'd saved up and bought a van, and we were like, right, let's just tour, play everywhere. And we had gradually the shows were getting hotter and hotter every single time, and then we had one gig in Hull on a Tuesday night in the middle of the summer, and it was when we had a heat wave, I think, and we thought that no one was going to come out because for some reason we were on at 11 o'clock
All right.
for a free entry show in Hull, and we were like, we've never played here. I think this is going to be a dead show, and so we got on stage, and I just finished the first ever draft of Going for Glory,
Oh, nice.
and we started the show, and there was about maybe 20 people there, and on the second song there was about 350 people there. Just something happened where I'm not joking, it was just packed, and then we realized this is one of those moments. So we started flying through the set, and it was becoming something else. And then we played Going for Glory, and it was the first time ever in my life that I'd actually ever seen this happen at all. No one had ever heard this song, and we played it, and I think on the third chorus, the final chorus, everybody was singing it back to us,
That's got to be a cool
and
feeling.
it was unreal. And then it kind of got to something else where like we ended the song, and I just kept singing Going for Glory, and then the audience kept going. It became like a tennis thing,
Yeah.
and that was when I realized that what did I realize? I just realized that we could do it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, gave it another year, and then recorded it with Pete, and then we released it, and then yeah, we in Classic Rock magazine twice in a row, and um and now we're going back to make an album with him. So that was the first moment. And then I guess when we recorded the other three, it was quite hard work actually to record the other. Well, the other two of them were very difficult to record in terms of like getting the sound and just like affording it as well.
Yeah.
And then it was when, and then Grow with the Flow was probably the closing chapter on that part of my life where I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work out. And then when I wrote that, I realized it's only going to work out, and the hardest part's behind us, because I lost a really close friend in a car accident.
Sorry to.
It is what it is, man. I think I'm still, it takes a long time, doesn't it? It takes a very long time. And I was, obviously feeling surprised more than anything, because it was just so out of the blue. I'd seen him like a week before, and it was one of those. And then just kind of within 5 minutes of sitting down, I wrote Grow with the Flow, and then recorded it like a week after as a demo. And I think when I listened to that demo back on the train home from my friend's living room, which we just recorded it on his laptop. And that was when I kind of realized that like there's a muscle that's been so well worked, where like if something comes up, I now know how to just express it and turn it into something. And then when I realized that, I just kind of just can just always write songs now, no matter what's going on. I just kind of, that muscle is just so well trained and like natural, and I just kind of feel like I don't really have a concern if it's going to work out or not anymore. I just kind of get on with it. It's a really nice place to be. But yeah, that was kind of and then the main thing as well about that is like a reminder that like it's not about making it for yourself, it's about making it for just the world around you. And in terms of that song in particular, it wasn't about, oh nice, I hope all my friends die so I write these really good songs. It was like this is your role in the world, is I can make music to make life better. And yeah, so it's kind of like, I think that really took the ego out of it for me, and made it more special actually, because it's like, it just feels a bit more kind of fulfilling, I suppose, now.
And with a song like that, with the sort of subject behind it, when you put it out into the world, mate, it's going to mean 100 different things to 100 different people.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You talk about live shows, though, man. You got some great support slots climbing up. You come going out with Marissa and the Moss, and
yeah, man.
You got a show with my good friends there. These Wicked Rivers coming up, and
oh, amazing. Yeah. Are you going to come to that one, or?
Yes, I am hoping to make it down to the River show. So
fantastic! Yeah, because that venue is just incredible.
Yeah, I've not been there before. Unfortunately, it'll be the first time going up to there. But yeah, I'm doing an album launch show for the boys on this coming Friday show. So I was chatting to Aaron and Hartwell the other day, and they were like, "Dude, you got to come down. You got," because I'd mentioned that I knew obviously that I mentioned, I'm chatting to Kit in a couple of weeks, and they're like, "Dude, you got to come down. You got to see Kit live. You got to do it."
Yeah. So, thanks. Yeah, it's a really nice. I love that band, not only obviously for their sound, but just like the way, it sounds really cheesy, but like the way they make you feel when you watch them.
Absolutely, no, I get it.
It's just this mad kind of homeliness, and there's just a feel good factor to like watching them play. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think between like yourselves, Empire, and these Wicked Rivers, although obviously stylistically very different, I think you've got that kind of a similar kind of vibe that you're just talking about. To be fair, anytime I hear music thing, I get that kind of, this is going to be cool. It's got that warmth about it, even though they're three different, very stylistically different. What you do, but it's got that kind of same, without sounding like the hippie retreat we were just slagging off.
No. I think it's I think it's good intentions. I think that's kind of like the broad way to kind of put it. It's like three bands with like good intentions and things, and that is kind of that's another thing I'm really grateful for. Is particularly, there's actually something I commented about going on tour with Marissa, is that like it's just like the being on the road with bands who just are just so happy to play, and that's enough for them. And you know, they don't want to, you know, be packed all the time and like, you know, lauded on and stuff like that. So that is I'm so happy that that's the circle that like I've gravitated towards, and my band feel the same.
That's good, man. And it looks like you guys have another great summer ahead as well with Call of the Wild Festival coming up,
Oh gosh, yeah,
and it looks like it's going to be an exciting summer for you guys.
yeah, absolutely. It's what's kind of crazy is that it's gotten to that place where I've just forgotten about like what we've got on. So like my missus was like, "Oh, I'm really excited. I'm going to bring like my friends to your Manchester show." And I was like, "What Manchester show?" So that's kind of like a really it sounds terrible actually that I'm forgetting about these things, but like it's yeah, it's exciting to have just so much kind of going on and just like going with the flow of it really. And it kind of means that every show is I'll give the same kind of energy to, because there's just so much going on. I'll just naturally just be playing. I don't know, it's kind of in some ways like simplifies the live performance, because you know, you can't have time to overthink it. You just get up and play.
Yeah,
So
I think that kind of energy though feeds into a live show sometimes, though, when you've just got to get
100%, 100%, yeah. You really shoot from the hip more. It's like we had a show in Newcastle on last Saturday. We played Coastal Cool Festival, and there was a 5-minute load in and a 5-minute load out, and no sound check or anything. And it was one of my favorite gigs I've ever played. I mean, number one, the crowd were just amazing, and it was, you know, rammed, and there was just a really cool, exciting energy. But because we were all, you know, delirious from the drive, and I'd had like 3 hours sleep the night before, and we were all kind of in a, you know, a loose headspace. We just jammed loads within the songs, and like we're like talking to the audience a lot, and there was this really free kind of energy on stage, and that kind of tends to be happening a lot.
That's really cool, man. I mean, like, the last 18 months for you, mate. No worries. The last 18 months for you, mate, has been insane. If you could like put a marker in the sand for this time next year, what would you have liked to have achieved? Is there a particular thing you'd like to do by this time next year other than the album? Or?
Yeah. So yeah, number one, finish the album would be the main thing. Number two, I guess, there's this one idea I've always wanted to do, which is a really small thing, but I'm going to make it happen this year, which is to have a gig at a skate park. That's like always been the dream. Like it's a really easy thing to do, and I've just never really gotten around to it. But maybe like play my local skate park, like Farnham Skate Park, would be cool. We filmed the Goin For Glory music video there. That was
video that looks wicked, man.
cool, isn't it, man? Because like they're everyone I skate with, so like it was nice. And then to go out to I went to the park the other day, and I bumped into one of my friends, Herbie, and I was like, "Dude, you know you were in Classic Rock magazine?" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was on the website and everything." And so that's really cool. So it's a small thing, but doing that would be cool. And then I suppose like for the growth of the band, I mean to maybe, I don't know, one way or another play like over 1,000 cap venue. That'd probably be like the next thing. Headline or support, just like, you know, that'd be pretty sweet to play to that kind of. I've played to that many people at a festival before, but never in a room. So that'll be pretty special.
That'd be cool.
And then I suppose other than that, just these sound like such humble, small kind of things, but they're pretty big in the long run. Just to keep enjoying it.
I think that's the main thing, man. Is if you keep enjoying,
yeah,
you're not going wrong. You can't go wrong if the enjoyment goes out of it.
Yeah, because everything else can be rubbish. Like you could be playing, you know, opening up for the Stones, but if like you're having a terrible time and you've got no friends and you're unwell and the vibe's not there, that sucks. But if you're playing, to like a decent room and you feel good and you're healthy and you're happy and everything in your foundation is strong, that's enough for me. Anything else is bonus.
Absolutely, man. We've all been at gigs when you've looked on the stage and you've thought they don't like each other anymore, and you can see it. It's
heartbreaking, isn't it?
awful, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
absolutely.
years ago being at Download Festival in 2005 and looking on the stage and going, Sergeant Darren did everything except for smack each other in the face. You know, the looks that they were throwing back and forth between each other was horrendous, to the point where we're like, you know, you got 80,000 people stood at Download being like, this is a bit awkward.
Abs- Absolutely, yeah. So I guess yeah, to enjoy it and just still, you know, obviously, and then just like more of like an adult thing, just still being able to, you know, earn a living from it is just insane. Whether it's like giving guitar lessons or doing like graphic illustrations for bands and or just shows or, you know, t-shirts or whatever, just yeah, hoping that that kind of still grows and things. And yeah, the main thing is just to keep enjoying it.
Wicked. Kit, thanks for chatting to us, man. It's been great to have you on, dude.
It's been such a pleasure, honestly.
Please, man. And so I'll see you with the Rivers boys in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
The beginning of the interview, I'm going to play Light at the End of the Tunnel, with it being your most recent single. But what song of yours would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Going for Glory, man.
Yeah.
Has to be. What, send them home happy. Wicked. So dude, it's been, just want to say thank you again for your time and kind of pushing it forward. And yeah, I'll should I hit the leave button when I need to go? Or
Yeah, no worries, buddy. Just do that. It's all
all right. Well, thank you again, and I'll see you in, gosh, 3 weeks.
Yeah, see you in a few weeks, man.
All right, man. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.
Bye, Kit.
Miracles are homemade. Love is not the answer. It's a hammer and a nail. After the 66 was all up for sale.